Hello. You guys gotta tell me if you hear me because I plugged in my lavalier mic and sometimes for some reason it doesn't work with YouTube, which I find odd and annoying, but it is what it is. Do tell me if you hear me. Also, let me do this. This might be better. Yeah, infinitely better. Okay. Hello, beautiful people. Loud and clear. Fantastic. Love that. Oh, hi, Chris. Good to see you. Hi, Martin. Hi, Gord. Hi, Juju. Hi, Carolyn. Hi, Grumpy. Hi, Jack the Rocky. Hi, John. Hi, Niels. Maybe you have come back. I don't know why, but my TikTok stream is like, I don't know, my Wi-Fi, it says that it's like, it says that I have really poor connection, but that's only, thank you, Ian. But that's only on TikTok, which is weird. I like that mic. Thank you. I love this mic actually. It was a gift from Pam a very, very, very long time ago. Well, like I guess over a year ago. I love this mic. It's the best mic I've ever had. And the DJI mics in general are fantastic. Speaking of, so you know, a lot of people choose between DJI and Rode. So I actually used Rode outside for Kyiv Post, and they're not as good as the DJIs because we tried both against each other, and the DJIs won. And today I was helping a friend do a mock interview, and he had Rodes too, and he also said that DJIs are better. So if you're looking for a mic, how much is a DJI mic? It's expensive. I don't remember how much it is, but it's expensive. And it was a very, 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 very generous gift from Pamela, who used to watch all the time, but she's been going through some things. And she hasn't been on that often, but I miss her a lot and I keep up with her, and I text her, I message her sometimes, and she is on Patreon and comments on Patreon sometimes. And Pamela is just a very, very, very lovely person. Oh my God, Liv. Honey, what's up? You were like having a seizure over there and snoring. Thank you. Hi, Sky. Sorry, Liv was like literally trembling and snoring, and it was a weird thing to watch. So I was just like, are you okay, buddy? So yeah, also, which allowed you to make a very, very generous gift to me. Well, my gift to you was not nearly as generous, but yes. Wait. I gave Grumpy my old mic because, you know, he does music lives, and I thought a mic would pick up music better than just like music in the background, because usually if you just play music on lives, it feels like noise in the background, and Grumpy's lives are about music, so I wanted the mic to pick it up so you would hear the sound better. Okay. Enough about that. How are you guys doing today? I had a decently productive and a decently unproductive day. I did sleep in. Then I was working on some behind the scenes stuff. Oh, hi, Anshi. And I'm good. How are you? A bit sore from skiing. How did that go? Vote blue, otherwise you're not with Ukraine. I mean, I don't have the ability to vote in the United States because I'm just a permanent resident. I'm also currently in Kyiv, but I do agree with you, but also not just because of Ukraine, but because of. Here is a very interesting discussion I had with someone the other day, actually, that we never talk about. And it's, we sort of mistakenly compare Trump and Putin. And hear me out on this. So we misattribute the comparison. Hitler did not come up with the ideas that Hitler promoted. Hitler was just a face of a brand. Hitler was at first literally a dummy found by Goebbels, who was a working class man who could relate to working class people who are working class people are most of the electorate in every country, right? And Goebbels was this posh sort of person who couldn't speak enthusiastically, who couldn't like do these grandiose speeches, and who was also a little too like snobby to relate and to be relevant and to be to resonate with working class people. And then he saw Hitler at a bar, rather at like a gathering thing, and he decided to make Hitler his project. And so a lot of the times I see Putin and Hitler being compared. I find that comparison a little inaccurate. I think that Putin is actually Goebbels, and Trump and Hitler are a very, very, very good comparison. Buddha talk. Hi, привіт, 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 Kyiv. Because if you think about it, Trump is Putin's project. And Trump is a loud guy who can give these like, you know, exhilarating speeches for people that he's trying to relate to. And realistically, the man behind the curtain who created this brand, who gave him Paul Manafort, who is benefiting from all of this garbage that Trump is putting out in the world and into the United States, is Putin. So I think the most accurate comparison in this would be comparing Putin to Goebbels and comparing Trump to Hitler, because Hitler was just a face of the brand that Goebbels created. And I think in this situation, that's what it is. Medvedev reminds me more of Goebbels, except way less sober. Medvedev doesn't make any decisions. Medvedev was, when he was president of Russia, he was just like a face. Realistically, when Medvedev was president, Putin was still president. It's just that Medvedev was put forth as like to prove that Russia is democratic, but Putin was still calling the shots. So Medvedev was just a shill. He was a fake. He was one of those, like, you know, he was a cover up. So Medvedev doesn't really call any shots. Medvedev doesn't really decide anything. Medvedev is really no one, and he's no one and his name is nothing. That's basically what it is. The only reason he's present is because Putin made him president instead, just to give an illusion of democracy. So yeah. Trump and his ilk literally give me indigestion. I get it. I totally get that. I agree with you. Trump gives me like the ick. The Trump gives me a big ick. Hi, Ghost. Good to see you. And hi, Life. Thank you so much. Hi, Nicole. Привіт. Hi, Veronica. How can someone vote for someone who might be in prison? Well, I mean, because it's a cult. Like, the reason why people vote for Trump is because he's created a cult, right? Like, if you think about all of these elements of what a cult is, Nazi Germany was a cult. I mean, you wouldn't necessarily call it a cult, right? It was a movement, but at the same time, it was a cultist movement, and it had all of the attributes of a cult. We just usually call religious things a cult. But cults they're sort of like, they're places where people feel like they're part of something larger than themselves. They feel a purpose. So for instance, the way that Nazi Germany was made into a cult is attention to details and branding and messaging. So the Nazi uniform was this beautiful Hugo Boss made piece of attire for a purpose, because when you would put it on, you felt like you were above things, like you were a part of something bigger and greater. Same happens. Well, I mean, like, I wouldn't call them beautiful, but the reason why Make America Great Again has all this like crazy merch is because of the same thing. When the people who support this shit put it on, they feel like they're part of something bigger than them and better. So that's. You guys, give me 1 second. I forgot to take things off the top of my washing machine, and it's currently doing a ringing cycle. So it is making these insane noises that you're likely going to hear when I walk up there with my mic. 1 sec. Oh, gross. Oh man. Okay. That was bad. That's not bad. Okay. I'm glad I dealt with that because that would drive me crazy, and that ringing cycle is like 8 to 10 minutes. So I couldn't handle listening to that for that long. Anyways, so basically, yeah, it's part of the cult, right? Also, cults have slogans. So the thing is, the way that cults function is they usually target people. They usually target people that can find purpose in life, or people who feel down, or people who feel lost, or people who don't know where to go, or people who are like angry at their life and are constantly searching for something better, or want to or want a change. The type of people who think the grass is always greener on the other side, right? Because these are the people that are the easiest to sell these ideas to, because they're lost and they're searching for purpose. And you give them a purpose. You give them something to hate. You give them something to love. You give them problems to solve. You make them feel like they're participating in something big. And that's purpose. And that's what Nazi Germany did with eradicating the Jews and making Jews to be the target of hate. That's what Trump is doing with immigrants and people who are not Christo-fascists. And yeah, and the branding is everything. And if you see how many MAGA people are literally buying these t-shirts and these hats and putting them on, again, it's because it makes you feel like you're part of it, and it distinguishes you from other people. And people look at you and immediately know that you're part of that big thing. So yeah, that's why I consider it a bit inaccurate to compare Putin and Hitler. That's the reason why I say that it's a little inaccurate to compare Putin and Hitler, because actually the man behind Hitler's ideas was Goebbels. Hitler was just a face until he took over, and the man behind Trump's ideas is Putin. So Putin is Goebbels, Trump is kind of Hitler. Also, cults make it easy for people with zero skills to make a career by being fanatic. Well, they just move up in the cult, and they also get the feeling of being successful. You know, like a lot of the times, the people who do join cults are people who are in despair at the moment, right? Which is why it's like cults target vulnerable people, and vulnerability can be doesn't have to be like financial vulnerability. It can be like a lot of different types of vulnerability. It could be like, you know, a death of a loved one or of a relative. It could be financial vulnerability. It could be emotional vulnerability. It could be intellectual vulnerability. It could be a lot of different types. And and it's easy to target people at that point in life because, again, they're vulnerable. And when you give them this like career and purpose and like moves up the ladder that they could be thank you so much, Ghost, that they could be moving up, they feel like they're actually doing something, they're accomplishing something. Again, that's the feeling of purpose, but it's also the feeling of satisfaction, and it like feeds your ego and it gives you a sense of accomplishment, because now Like you start with, I don't know, giving out pamphlets for a cult, and then you become a manager and you manage the people who give out pamphlets. And then suddenly you are like, you are doing seminars and you are teaching other people how to, I don't know, give out pamphlets and stuff. And you are moving up in life. You've gone from, let's say, someone unemployed to a manager, right? So that's kind of how cults function. And it's sort of also how these like Trump rallies function, because there are these crazy people who would be talking to their friends about like Trump and about all of these immigrants, and posting like all of these immigrants. Just FYI, I'm not trying to call immigrants that. I'm just saying that this is the mindset of, I'm an immigrant myself in America, or was. I mean, I still am. I have a green card, so technically I'm considered an immigrant, and I have, I mean, I live in America. Anyways, long story. Point is, hi, Sin. Point is that that's the thinking, right? And they talk to their neighbors and they start organizing Facebook groups and stuff. And then, like, Trump campaigners reach out to them so they can spread these messages, so they can start making these bigger Facebook groups, so they can start organizing these like heated rallies, so they can start like campaigning for Trump, and they can start doing these things. And they start feeling like they're a part of something bigger. Before this, it was an average Susan housewife somewhere in any state. And her husband works, she's at home, and she's not really doing much. And now she's like a head of a MAGA Moms committee, and she's organizing Trump rallies. Something to be proud of. There you have it. Anyways, America is about to fail because of stupidity. Well, I really hope that, there are enough people in America that are smart. I know a lot of people that are really advocating and that are really trying to teach people, and they're really trying to open people's eyes. And I know people in Ukraine who are actually working on it because they're trying to show people in America. They're trying to show people in America like how Putin is connected to all of this and who he truly is. And like there is a lot of advocacy work being done, but it's just we have so little time. We have realistically half a year to fix the shit, and it's scary. Speaker Mike Johnson is compromised. Yes, he is. Hi Kurt. Okay, so where was I? Yeah, so I'm glad we got that out fairly early into the stream. So we actually started by not talking about my random day and my random feelings. We started with talking about like, stuff that's important. 20 days in Mariupol. So won an Oscar yesterday. It's phenomenal, although it is a bittersweet moment for Ukraine because, Mstislav Chernov won an Oscar by showing the truth about Ukrainian suffering, right? And it's really sad because that's what won this country an Oscar. Also, turns out it is not the first Oscar in Ukrainian history, but it's the first like loud and proud big Oscar in Ukrainian history. There were quite a few comments on that video from Ukrainians who were actually correcting me and Mstislav Chernov about the fact that Ukrainians did win Oscars before. One was for costume designs, and one was for an invention in cinematography. But so they were not like off the stage given Oscars, sort of like the Academy Awards, the Academy Awards style kind of like big pompous event. It was they were just for accomplishments within the industry. So a little bit different. So this is the first time someone off the stage was given an Oscar, and Slava Ukraini was heard at the Academy Awards, which is honestly like an insane thing. I don't think I could never have imagined that I would hear Slava Ukraini from the stage of the Academy Awards, which like it's such a big deal for all of us in Ukraine, to be honest. I don't know what Kiev is. I am in Kyiv. I've never heard of a city named Kiev. Where is that? Because I don't know. That is definitely not a city in my country, Ukraine, because I know pretty much most cities in my country, and I have never heard of a Kiev here. You know, it is what it is. Also, yes, I do have an interview with Mstislav Chernov, who's the director of 20 Days in Mariupol. You can listen to the interview on my podcast, The Press Lounge. The Press Lounge, because if you write in just Press Lounge, it's going to give you like a lot of other options and bigger podcasts. But so I would suggest typing out The Press Lounge. The interview is the first episode of the podcast, and the interview is brilliant because he's brilliant, and I highly recommend that everybody who's interested in listening to him listens to it, because hearing his perspective and why he filmed it and why he stayed and why he felt like he should do it is very, very interesting. He's a very humble guy. He talks a lot about cinema and how cinema influences people and why it's so important for 20 Days in Mariupol, for him, why it was so important for him to make this into a documentary. It wasn't supposed to be a documentary at first. It was just like footage that they were filming for the record. And he talks about how he was doing the voiceover for the documentary, because he narrates the whole thing. And he was doing it in Kharkiv, and Kharkiv is his native city, and it was at risk of being encircled by Russia too. So he was just going through a lot, and it's a very, very interesting interview. I do, again, highly recommend it. It's on Spotify, it's on Apple Podcasts, it's on Google Podcasts, and the podcast is called The Press Lounge. So I do really, really, really recommend it. Oh, hi, Double Niels. Hello, Double Niels. So fundraiser, what is it? Fundraiser, not tally, Jesus Christ. Fundraiser total as of today is $12,570. I believe we raised about $45 yesterday. There was a donation that came in right after the live, and it was $15. So, no, we raised $35 yesterday. Sorry, there was, well, anyways, 30 or 35, but I did add everything up. So I did add the last donation in, which made it to $12,570. The donation was $15, and it was right after the live. So if you would like to donate to the fundraiser, Grumpy has been posting the link to the fundraiser. It's easy. It's beacons.ai/fundraiser. Also, there should be the link somewhere in the comments on YouTube right here. Grumpy also posted it. So it appears right on the screen. And if you are on TikTok and you don't want to type it in manually, you can go to my link in bio on my TikTok profile and press the Beacons link, and there is going to be the fundraiser, almost one of the first options where you can go, and there is Venmo, there is PayPal, and there is Revolut and Monobank. Thank you, Katya. So you're in Ukraine right now. Yes, I am. I am in Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine. And I've been in Ukraine for the past 3 months, a little over 3 months. Was it very awkward coming across Russians in the US? Russians and Ukrainians tend to hang out together for the most part, or at least they used to. No, I wouldn't say so. I don't have any Russian friends in the US, and I never did. I mean, most of my friends are actually English speaking, but I also wouldn't say that Russians and Ukrainians tend to hang out together. So women's worked? I'm so confused. Bamba? Said no to drones for me? Aw. And thank you for the rose. No, so I mean, like, here's the thing. There are lots of like a lot of Ukrainians that come to the US. A lot of Ukrainians that come to the US. Did I miss a PayPal? Sorry, I'm just confused. But a lot of Ukrainians that come to the US tend to try and look for work in Russian owned or Ukrainian owned spaces if their English is not very good. Also, because it's easier to find jobs in, sort of like Eastern European places at first, because you don't necessarily know how the market works and stuff. But I wouldn't say that Russians and Ukrainians tend to hang out together. I do know that Ukrainians formed their own kind of like neighborhoods and their own communities in the United States, and like they were not in any way connected to Russians. I personally have no Russian friends in the US. I never did. I also don't really have a lot of Ukrainian friends in the US, to be honest. I was very much like most of my friends are American or European, and it just so happened because like I immersed myself into the English speaking environment immediately. And so I wasn't meeting a lot of Ukrainians or Russians. I did meet quite a few Russians in college, and I just pretended like my name was Yulia because my parents, I don't know, liked the name. And I never said that I speak Russian because they immediately start speaking Russian to you if they hear an Eastern European name without even asking where the fuck you're from or whether you speak it. And I was just super not interested in like being friends with them. That actually had nothing to do with cultural things or like I came to the US in 2011 or something. And at that point I had very little exposure to Russia. All of my exposure to Russia was really through books or through like the fact that my grandparents spoke Russian. And I really haven't met a lot of Russians. And then in the US, I started meeting lots of Russians in my college, and I really didn't like them. And I mean, like, objectively, I didn't like the fact that they would like click together and form these like Russian groups, and they were very condescending. I didn't like, I've seen them speak to Ukrainians, and I've seen them like making fun of their English, making fun of their like Russian. I don't know, there was just like a lot. I didn't like the super like Sovietized culture type of things. Like they seemed to me like they came out of the USSR, while like, I don't know, I came out of Ukraine and it was very different. And they seemed to think that like Ukraine is very similar to what they're talking about. A lot of them were from like smaller towns in Russia. And like, I don't know, to me, it was just like kind of seeing them act, behave, and what they were talking about reminded me a lot of like the things that I've seen and known about the USSR. And I was just kind of like taken aback by that. And they conflated Ukraine and Russia a lot. And it's just like, I don't know, I didn't, they were rude, they were loud. Like, I just like, I don't know, I separated myself from Russians immediately. I would never let on that I understand or speak Russian or anything like that. And I would just speak English all the time. So I didn't make any Russian friends really. Hi, Alexander. So yeah, was it awkward coming across Russians in the US? I mean, I actually haven't come across that many Russians because I just don't hang out in places that would warrant having a lot of Russians. They tend to stick in their little cults and cliques. They're usually, that's what they do. They don't want to learn the language. If it's like rich Russians, then they come with their husbands or like whatever, and they just go out with their Russian friends. They don't necessarily make friends with anyone who speaks English, very rarely. They normally actually like do stick with other Russians or other Russian speaking people. In New York, like, yeah, I would see them in like expensive stores and stuff. And I would also see them sometimes like on the street, but it's just like, I don't necessarily come across them because I don't communicate with them. And it's like, yeah, hearing Russian language after the full-scale invasion, anytime I would hear it, it would actually trigger me and it would make me angry. Also because like most Russians don't speak with this sort of tone of voice. When they speak Russian, they kind of talk like this. So you know they're not Russian-speaking Ukrainians. You know that they're Russians because especially if they're from Moscow, they sound this way. And it's just like a very annoying tone in general. So I despise it. Also, they're very loud. If they're like standing at a supermarket, they will be talking to each other and they'll be like screaming in Russian. And Americans talk loud. Like, trust me, Americans, they talk they like Americans talk loud, and like Russians talk louder than that. Like literally they will be standing like in a line in supermarket and people will like turning around at them and staring because they're so loud, and it's just like so inappropriate. Yulia, you broke a Russian girl's heart. They came to your live in English. Some really suffered. No, they didn't. Like, here's the thing. That was also Liv. I'm sorry. No, they didn't. Like, if they ran away from Russia, it's not suffering. If they ran away because they didn't want to deal with having to get hurt to overthrow a dictator, that's not suffering. Like, I'm sorry, but it triggers me so much when people say that like Russians have suffered, because I live in Ukraine where people suffer every day and we're actually being invaded. Like Russian people, especially like the civilians who just like fled or like whatever, or stay at their homes, they're not suffering. They're uncomfortable. They're uncomfortable. Like, it's uncomfortable that brands left Russia. It's uncomfortable that they can't like speak out because they don't want to get hurt for speaking out. It's uncomfortable that they can't buy like groceries. It's uncomfortable that they can't do all of these things, but they're actually not actively getting hurt. They don't live under air raids. They don't live under bombing. They don't live under any of that. And the reason why they live that way and the reason why they are uncomfortable or upset or like whatever is their own doing. No one did that to them. They did that to them, and they allowed it to happen. They allowed it to happen. Locked in closed city whole life, got out for school. That's a nuclear city. Her parents worked there. Like, yeah, sure, but that's not locked up. That's not stuff like like, yeah, there are people. That's a whole separate situation. Like, they're not suffering because they're Russian. They lived in a nuclear city. There are places like that in the US. There are places like that in other places. Like, there aren't bombs dropping in their heads. It doesn't matter. Like, you know, like you're trying to invoke some sort of pity out of me for a Russian girl or a Russian guy who lived in a nuclear city. Please tell me how they suffered. Yeah, it's a very wild lifestyle. It's a very different lifestyle. But that's not like, also please tell me it's not Yana, because if it's Yana, then I'm not even going to bother explaining. I'm not even going to bother explaining it, because that girl is like, we're not even going to go there. That girl is condescending and entitled and thinks that she's like that she anyways. But they felt for you in Ukraine. Yeah, that's great that they felt for me in Ukraine. You know what isn't great? They have a Russian passport and they have the ability to influence their government. Like, for instance, you know why they got out, and you know why they're like, oh, but we can't do anything because we're going to get hurt. We are getting hurt. We are getting hurt every day. Our people are getting hurt every day, not because we chose to do it, but because we're being invaded. Russian people choose to come here, and Russian people choose to do these things. So what? I'm supposed to not talk about how I feel about the goddamn fucking country that's invading me because that hurts some Russian girl's feelings? Like, are you joking? Do you understand what you're saying? You individually feel for a person because they're Russian and they told you their life story, and you feel for them. And you're telling me I broke their heart by telling the real story of what Russia is fucking doing to my country, how I feel about it, how Ukrainians feel about it, that they're suffering, that we're suffering every day. There are fucking bombs landing in our heads. There was an air raid an hour ago because there were Shaheds coming towards Kyiv. And we live in this every day. And you are telling me that I broke some Russian girl's heart because she fucking came here and didn't like hearing the truth? The truth? because she was like, oh my God, lived in a nuclear city and got out for school, poor her. Like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything I say? I'm sorry, like, I'm so mad. I am so mad at this. What do you want me to say? You want me to feel bad for her? You want me to stop talking about Russia the way that I talk about Russia because Russia is what it actually is because some girl's feelings got hurt? Are you actually fucking for real? It upsets me so much because I also know you come here, you listen to me, and you're upset because I hurt some Russian girl's feelings because she came into my life, heard the truth about Russia, didn't like it, and got upset, and I'm supposed to feel bad because she grew up in a nuclear city? What does it fucking have to do with anything? I'm sorry, she grew up in a nuclear city and didn't see the world until she got out for school. Good for her. You go, girl. What the fuck does that have to do with the fact that Russia is a murderous dictatorship? The fact that she is upset about what I have to say about Russia after listening to it because she suffered shows you exactly how entitled and self-absorbed and self-obsessed Russians are. So what? Because she had a non-standard childhood where she couldn't leave her town in Russia, suddenly it's fucking okay? And she suffered? Therefore, you can't talk bad about all Russians or things like that? Like, dude, that doesn't negate the fact that, yeah, most of Russians support this, and neither her nor anyone else who's against the war is doing anything to stop this. You know, that breaks my heart. You know what breaks my heart? Yeah. Like, pardon me, but I don't give a shit how many Russian girls' hearts I break. Good. Learn the truth. Be uncomfortable. Listen to what Ukrainians think about you and your goddamn fucking shithole of a country. Because you know what? It's uncomfortable to wake up at 4 a.m. to an air raid. It's uncomfortable to be worried about your friend because they went on an assignment to Kharkiv. It's uncomfortable to know that your friends could die tomorrow because they're at the front. It's fucking uncomfortable. You know? Like, the entitlement of Yulia, you broke some Russian girl's heart. She suffered because she's from a nuclear city and SBU is watching her, whatever. Like, do I give a fuck? Why? Please tell me, why am I supposed to sympathize with the Russian person and care that I broke their heart? Please, like, give me a reason. What did they do to stop the war? Did they put themselves in harm's way to save Ukrainians that are actively getting harmed? No. What Russians always say is that they can't come back, they can't do this, they can't do that, because they'll get hurt. Oh, I'm so sorry you'll get hurt. We get hurt every day, and we don't have a choice. We have to. We have to. We have to get hurt. Because otherwise we won't exist. Russians have a choice whether to get hurt and save our lives or not get hurt. And they choose not to get hurt because their lives to them are more valuable than our lives to us. And when they say that they're in danger or they suffered, that's fucking bullshit. They choose to not put themselves in danger by staying silent and not doing anything. We don't have a choice other than to put ourselves in danger. And I swear to God, I don't care how nice, sweet, whatever a person is. If you're going to keep trying to convince me to feel bad for a fucking Russian because they came to my live and their little whittle feelings got hurt, I don't want to see you here. Jesus fucking Christ. I'm done here. Anyways, our fundraiser is at $12,570. This fundraiser is for Third Separate Assault Brigade that kicks Russia's ass every day. And we are $70 over 5 drones. And we are about to, we are $70 into 6 drones, which is our goal. So our goal is $15,000. We're at $12,570. If we could get to like $12,800 tonight or $12,900, which would be $330 or $230 in donations respectively, that would be phenomenal. So Third Separate Assault can keep kicking Russia's butt. And, I'm done there. I don't sound like an American honey bunny. I sound like a Ukrainian who's rightfully enraged at your fucking stupid shit that you're saying and continue saying. Because I don't sound like an American when I'm trying to tell you the truth about how entitled what you are doing is right now. So either you leave or you're going to get kicked out. The choice is yours. Anyways, so yes, I'm not Julia, I'm Yulia, thank you. $12,570 is what the fundraiser is at. If you'd like to donate to it, here is the link right on the screen. And if you're on TikTok, then the link is going to appear on the screen shortly in the comments when Grumpy puts it there, because he always does. Thank you, Grumpy. And you can also go to my link in bio and donate through there. Anyways, let's get to the news, shall we? Oof. Oh, and all of your donations that are going to come during this live are going to be announced live and added to the total. If you don't know that yet, now you know. And if they come before or after the live, then they're going to be announced in the beginning of the live, just like they were today. As stupid as a stupid does. Okay. Let me just get to the beginning of the agenda for today. One second. Sorry, I'm like, that got me going. I get very annoyed at people sometimes. Якщо я хочу біситись, я буду біситись. And there's nothing you can do about it, so just deal with it. And you do not want to tell me not to be angry when I am angry. You don't want to do that. You don't. Not a good time. Okay? Anyways, didn't relationships teach you anything? Like, you do not tell someone who's actively angry to stop being angry. You also don't tell someone who is not angry, why are you angry? Because you're inadvertently making them angry by being annoying and telling them how to feel. Don't do that. Anyways, yes, pro tip for the future. If I'm yelling at a troll or at like a very misguided person and someone tells me to relax, calm down, or not yell or not get angry, Sorry, guys. My no. It's not just you. It's it was my Wi-Fi. Something's wrong with my Wi-Fi today. Honestly, like pathologically, if you have been following me since New York, then you know that I actually, the one thing that I pay premium for is Wi-Fi, especially since I started doing streams. And I have Spectrum in New York. That's my only option in my area, and that thing does not work. It is not fast. It constantly glitches. My Wi-Fi is garbage, and like it's only garbage for me. Everyone else seems to have no problem with it. I always have outages. Literally, I moved into this building. This Wi-Fi is really good. I did not install it. It's like within the building. It's fiber, whatever, like fiber blah, 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 wire, whatever it is. It's like fiber, super speed internet, whatever. And the owner of this apartment, when she was like renting it to me, she was like, yes, it's so like it's like a fantastic, everybody in this building loves it, it's like great, right? I move in 2 weeks later, there is an outage in the entirety of the company for like a day. Okay, cool. Fun. So then yeah, and there have been like little situations with this Wi-Fi ever since, and I'm just like, it definitely, it's me. It's me, isn't it? It's not you, it's me. So you guys on YouTube might have missed it, but we got a donation from Jason for $40, which brings us to $12,610. Even. Wow. We're so even these days. No odd numbers, no odd anything. I do like it. I do. So, wait, refresh the page. Wait, I connected it to my hotspot. So YouTube now is on a hotspot because my Wi-Fi is not doing very swell. Oh. So yeah, so yeah, we are at $12,610. No cents, no anything. Travis, you can sleep well tonight. You can sleep sound. You know, no one has screwed up the evenness yet. No pressure. No pressure whatsoever. Hold on, you're going to be very disappointed in a second, Yulia. Not in NYC anymore. I am in Kyiv. Sorry, попався під гарячу руку. Hi, Angel. Wait, what? But yeah, so, and I can't find the beginning of my like notes for today, so give me a second. Oh, Praxis, hello. Oh, okay, so John over here, as per usual, donated $1.01, which brought us to $12,611.01. Hi, Brian, good to see you. I donated, Yulia, says John so proudly when he's screwed up the evenness of numbers. Now TikTok is acting up. I don't know, not for me. Nice, Slava Ukraini. Героям слава. So yeah, for those of you who don't know what's happening, there's a fundraiser that's been going on for like about 2 months now, and we're so close to closing it in the grand scheme of events. So we are at $12,611.01. And if you would like to donate to this fundraiser, it's for 6 DJI Mavic 3 Pro drones for 3rd Separate Assault Brigade. And the link is in my link in bio on my TikTok profile, and also right here if you're on YouTube. Okay. Oh, yeah, wow, I scrolled way far up. Oh, 1449. 1449. 1 second. Okay, 1449, which brings us to $12,625.50. Hi, Cheryl. Hi, Mr. Squiggle. The dog chomp healing up well. Yeah, it's doing better. It's not fantastic. I've stopped looking at it because it's just purple and very ugly. The weather is getting much nicer. And thank you, Uliana. $12,625.50. Hey, dogs, Could you please not? Thank you. Yeah, don't do that. I'm sure you've enjoyed. I'm sure you've enjoyed the, the ASMR from Liv and Cinny. Anyways, so yeah, the dog jump is healing up better, but it's oh, thank you. Oh, Lauren, wait, plus 2002. Okay, so we are 1 second, $12,645.52 plus John's donation of $20, which makes it $12,665.52. And oh my gosh, Tony, plus $1.50, which brings us to $12,667.02. I know that you were trying to fix the total, but someone screwed it up for you. So I so sorry. I so sorry. Just wanted to say that Russia sucks. Thank you. It does. But yes, the dog bite is healing up decently. I hope no one else pisses you off. I can't afford to give any more for now. He's okay. I'm also angry, but I have been gifted with a miracle tool to kick Putin's ass. The LSA has come up with a nice design of a flag, and Institute Quantif has come up with a winning math strategy. Huh. Winning math strategy. Hi, Armin. Also, wait, who screwed up what? I must have said something. Wait, I'm confused. Armin's quote of the day is up. It wouldn't let me make that payment. The payment note. Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Martin Luther King Jr. The troll's problem is she thinks only of herself, and by doing so ignores her first human duty. Oh, yeah, that's a very nice quote, Armin. Thank you. Oi. Ouch. Okay. So yes, the dog bite is doing better. It's very purple. I try not to look there. I just make sure that it's like that it hasn't gotten worse, and it hasn't. I'm sure that it's like, that it's healing. I mean, it is. It's like visibly doing better, but like when bruises, because it has a huge bruise, and I can't show it to you because it's like right on my thigh, and I would have to take my pants off. Can't pull them up, so oopsie doopsie. So yeah, I really sorry. It looks awful, but it's doing better. But it looks awful, but it's doing better. But it looks awful, like god awful. So yeah, yeah. And spring is coming, and the weather is nicer, and like skirts and dresses and all that stuff. Not gonna be wearing those for a while, because yeah, I wonder if the photo of what it looked like most recently is on my phone or not. Oh yes, this is what my leg looks like. So yeah, oopsie doopsie. Also, John just screwed up the total again. We are at $12,668.03. Yes, the total for the fundraiser is still messed up. It's $12,668.03. It actually isn't painful, weirdly. Like, genuinely, it doesn't hurt. It just looks awful. It does not hurt at all, which is wild, to be honest. But it looks awful. It's not pretty. It's 50 shades of purple, maybe more shades of purple, actually. And that's what it is. Must be a grumpy dog. Well, that was a corgi. That was a corgi that I actually saw downstairs today. And it still does not have a muzzle. So I'm going to actually go downstairs tomorrow or upstairs. I think they lived upstairs. And I'm going to show them the bite. And I'm going to say that if they don't buy a muzzle, because she holds the dog on a short leash, but it's like the dog bit me in the elevator and a short leash is not going to help. So anyways, if they don't buy a muzzle, I'll call the cops, because it's not about me being mad or like angry or like, you know, bitter or anything. It's because like other people can get hurt. And also other people might not be like me and they might not request a muzzle. They might actually take that way further. And if a dog has a history of biting, not just one bite, then that's a problem. Yana, thank you. Yana just donated 97 cents to even out the total, and it's now $12,669. So yes, you did fix the total. It is now even. Famous Hollywood actor Will Smith shared a photo with the Ukrainian Sherp all-terrain vehicle during the filming of the movie Bad Boys 4. Sherp, it's known for its cross-country ability and ability to overcome any obstacles. Bad Boys 4 is slated for release in June 2024. It also stars Martin Lawrence, Vanessa Hudgens, Jacob Scipio, and others. Never heard of Jacob Scipio. But this is the vehicle. I've never seen these. What are these monsters? These are so odd. But that's a Ukrainian Sherp all-terrain vehicle. Interesting. Turkey and the United States held talks, one of the topics of which was Ukraine, says Reuters. The officials discussed in particular ways to stop Russia's invasion of Ukraine. According to Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan, Turkey did not notice that Kyiv and Moscow were ready for this. Really? Oh, you didn't notice that Kyiv is ready to stop the war? You feel like we want to continue being bombed? Yeah, maybe you noticed that Moscow is not ready for this. Oh, Kyiv has been ready. We've been ready. Yeah. We need a basis for talks to end this war and a dialogue to prevent worse crises, and we call for that, Fidan said. Yeah, that's not how things work. Hi, Joe. The Turkish Minister of Foreign Affairs also said at the meeting, so Kat just donated $1.07, making the total $12,670.07. Now, who's going to fix that? But seriously, if we could get to like $12,800 today, that would be very, very good. I mean, it's a big ask. It's like $229.93. But maybe, right? We're like just starting-ish. The Turkish Minister of Foreign Affairs also said at the meeting the parties achieved certain changes in the psychology of their relations and expect a more positive agenda in further interaction. Every time I hear about something that Turkish officials said, I just want to like unhear it. According to Alexander Karasevich, the ambassador of Ukraine to the Netherlands, Russia has deployed chemical weapons against the Ukrainian military on 346 occasions. He highlighted that the Russian army is intensifying its use of toxic chemicals, which constitutes a violation of the Chemical Weapons Convention. As of February 2024, Ukrainian healthcare institutions have recorded 946 cases of providing medical assistance to Ukrainian servicemen who were poisoned by an unknown substance in combat zones. Mark, thank you. Plus $9.93, which makes it $12,680 even. That's crazy. I'm going to read this again because pay attention to this. Russia has deployed chemical weapons against the Ukrainian military, chemical weapons, on 346 occasions. He highlighted that the Russian army is intensifying its use of toxic chemicals, which constitutes a violation of the Chemical Weapons Convention, obviously. As of February 2024, Ukrainian healthcare institutions have recorded 946 cases of providing medical assistance to Ukrainian servicemen who were poisoned by an unknown substance in combat zones. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, Dmytro Kuleba, cautioned that if Russia were to attack the Baltic NATO countries, it would face defeat. However, he emphasized that the liberated cities would bear the scars of conflict, resembling Bakhmut and Avdiivka. In the end, I believe NATO will prevail. But consider Bakhmut, consider Avdiivka. This is the aftermath of intense hostilities. This is what your cities will endure. Vilnius will no longer retain its beauty, he warned. Kuleba stressed that the most cost-effective and secure method to prevent such devastation is support Ukrainians fighting against Russian aggression. He noted Lithuania's understanding of this stance and its support for Ukraine, while implying that others are feigning ignorance of the potential consequences. And that is very true. Lithuania is one of the countries that understands us like no one else. I also had a video of Kuleba saved, actually on Twitter, where he talks about the dumb Russian talking points about Russia invading because NATO. And he was completely annihilating these talking points in a very simple way. And I really liked how he did that, because it was truly so simple. And I'm going to play it for you guys. It's in English. One sec. I want to play it for you because it's genuinely really good. Okay.
Russia was forced to attack Ukraine because Ukrainians wanted to join NATO. Those people also often say that NATO promised it would not expand to the east, but later broke this promise. And this,
actually, wait, because
is the reason why.
Okay,
Russia
1 second. Let me actually do this on my computer, and I'm going to turn the camera over onto my, so I don't have to hold it because it's like 2 minutes or something. And not that that's like a super long, time, but it is better to just show it on the screen. It makes more sense. Okay, 1 second. Oh, it's going to tell me that it noticed inactivity, and I'm going to do this. Okay. No. All right. Give me 1 sec, you guys. Present. Share screen. TikTok share, but I want to go back here and I want it to be all the thing. Sorry. And then I can do this. Well, it's not gonna be perfect. 3271. It's not gonna be perfect, but you can hear it.
I sometimes hear people say that Russia was forced to attack Ukraine because Ukrainians wanted to join NATO. Those people also often say that NATO promised it would not expand to the east, but later broke this promise. And this, allegedly, is the reason why Russia keeps attacking its neighbors. If you have ever heard people say something like that, please know that this is not true. And it will take me less than 5 minutes to prove with facts that both statements are false. First, let's have a look at the timeline of events. Russia first invaded Ukraine in February 2014 by occupying the Crimea Peninsula. At that moment, Ukraine was a neutral country by law, and expressed no intention of joining NATO whatsoever. For instance, during the Revolution of Dignity, the protesters insisted on Ukraine joining the EU, not NATO. It was only in autumn 2014, after many months of war, that Ukraine abandoned neutrality. So what came first? Russia attacking Ukraine or Ukraine wanting to join NATO? The answer is clear. Had Russia not threatened Ukraine's existence, there would be no reason for our country to seek collective security. So please do not repeat the lie that, I quote, Russia attacked because Ukraine wanted to join NATO, end of quote. This does not correspond with the facts. Now let's have a look at the story of NATO allegedly promising not to expand to the east. If you ask people who say this, when exactly such a promise was made and who made it, most of them will not be able to provide a clear answer. Spoiler, because no such promise has ever been made and the whole story is a Russian fairy tale. Those more sophisticated will tell you that the promise was made to the president of the USSR, Mikhail Gorbachev. They may even refer to the 1990 US-Soviet negotiations on the reunification of Germany. Again, let's consider the timeline. In summer 1990, when these talks were held, the Soviet analog of NATO, the Warsaw Pact, still existed. Its dissolution, let alone the Soviet Union's dissolution, was not on the cards. No one even talked about it or imagined it. It was only next year, in 1991, that the Warsaw Pact and later the USSR quite unexpectedly ceased to exist. Now explain to me just how the very issue could be even discussed in the summer of 1990. It is not surprising that Mikhail Gorbachev later himself refuted this falsehood. When asked by a journalist whether any such promise had been made, he said this was a myth. Now let's look at it from another perspective. How could NATO even promise anything like that? Initially, it is not NATO that decides which country joins it. Countries themselves need to want it, and actually, the membership criteria are very difficult. It requires a lot of political will and reform. All the NATO members that joined it after 1991 really wanted to be part of it. Their people wanted this. And here comes the most uncomfortable question for Russia. Why were all of the nations that had been part of the Soviet Union or the socialist bloc so eager and desperate to join NATO? Well, maybe because in 3 decades Russia has invaded or incited war in at least 3 of its neighbors: Moldova, Georgia, and Ukraine. At the same time, Russia has not dared to invade any of its NATO neighbors. Do you see the pattern? The only reason for countries in the vicinity of Russia to seek NATO membership has always been and remains the need to protect their people from Russia. Therefore, Moscow has only itself to blame for the fact that all of the Central European and Baltic nations ran away from it and hid under the NATO umbrella as quickly as they could. Do not let Russian officials or their supporters in the West fool you. Russia attacked Ukraine not because NATO expanded to the east, or because Ukraine wanted to join NATO. Russia attacked because it denies Ukraine's right to exist and wants to conquer our land and kill our people. It is through our shared strength that we can and must stop Russia and put an end to its aggressive plans for the rest of Europe. For this to happen, keep supporting Ukraine and don't buy Russian lies.
Yeah, I love Kuleba. He's very well spoken. He is fantastic. I really want to, I would really love to have a conversation with him. Actually, someone today told me, well, not someone, the friend that I was helping do a mock interview told me that they have spoken to Kuleba and I think they know him. So if they could somehow facilitate that conversation, that would be fantastic because I have so many things that I would love to chat to him about, not even on camera, but in general. Always. Hi, Carolyn. Ukraine needs the option not to join NATO and Russia fucked it up. Well, Ukraine never really tried to join NATO, to be honest, until after Russia invaded. There was a small conversation about potentially maybe joining NATO, or just kind of talking about it. And that was cut down in 2008 by Angela Merkel because she didn't want that because she loves Russia. Anyways, so we got a donation from Mashbook that brought us to $12,712.71. We also got another donation while I was sharing my screen, and I didn't see. It was 20-something dollars. So I will tell you in a second. It was from John, and it's $24.56. $24.56. So that brings us to $12,737.27. Can we push it up to 12,800? Can we do that? Do you think we can do that? Because we're so close. The Vatican clarified Pope Francis's remarks made during an interview with Swiss radio and television, emphasizing that the Pope's call for a ceasefire and the resumption of negotiations did not imply a call for surrender by Ukraine. Well, there is no other way that negotiations with someone who doesn't want to negotiate would happen in this way. So whatever they try to say, anytime someone calls for a ceasefire, they call for Ukraine to surrender, because a ceasefire would mean that Russia will not honor that ceasefire. And in the time in which the ceasefire is going to be going on, Russia will be continuously torturing Ukrainians. That's surrender. Matteo Bruni, director of the Vatican's press service, explained that when Pope Francis used the term white flag, he was responding to an image suggested by the interviewer to convey a cessation of hostilities and a truce achieved through the courage of negotiations. Bruni further highlighted that in another part of the interview, referring to a different conflict situation but applicable to any military scenario, the Pope explicitly stated, "Negotiations are never surrender." Oh, really? So how do you see this, Pope Francis? So, I'm sorry. So how do you see this happening? So how is Ukraine supposed to negotiate with Russia while Russia re-educates Ukrainian children, tortures them, kidnaps them, while Russia tortures Ukrainian people, while Russia, here is a person asking, didn't Russia also shoot humanitarian corridors with artillery while ceasefire? Yes. And there is also an event in, I believe, 2016. It was in Ilovaisk. Ilovaisk is one of the deadliest days for the Ukrainian military. When Russia invaded Donbass, what you refer to as Donbass, but certain areas of Donetsk and Luhansk. Actually, it's interesting because Donbass is a term made up by Russians, either in Imperial Russia or in the Soviet Union. I believe it dates back to the Imperial Russia, and it's Donetsk, which is the river, coal basin. And most of the coal areas are actually in Russia, so most of the Donbass is in Russia. Luhansk is Slobozhanщина, and Donetsk is Priazovia. It's not Donbass. Anyways, that's just like a term to put. It's a term that Russia invented in order to classify those regions as like blue-collar working regions, industrial regions. But in reality, the name of Donetsk Oblast in Ukraine is Priazovia because it's pre-Azov Sea, and Luhansk is Slobozhanщина. So yeah, these are the areas. It's like Lviv is Halachina. Anyways, Ilovaisk was a town that Ukrainians held, and then Russians were taken over, and Ukraine had negotiated a ceasefire and a corridor and a green corridor for Ukrainian military to leave. Ukrainian military surrendered, basically, and surrendered Ilovaisk. And while the Ukrainian military was leaving Ilovaisk through a negotiated green corridor, Russia shot at them, and fired at them from like rocket launchers. And over 300 servicemen died exiting that corridor, and only a few were left alive because Russia planned and waited for them to go through the green corridor so they can shoot them. There is no negotiations with a country like that. There is no negotiations with a country that has not upheld a single fucking ceasefire and peace agreement. You don't negotiate with people like that. Negotiations require decency, and negotiations require good faith arguments. Russia only negotiates in bad faith. The head of the Polish Foreign Ministry has urged the Pope to address President Putin directly, calling for the withdrawal of Russian troops from Ukraine. Thanks. Wouldn't it be balanced to also appeal to Putin to gather courage and withdraw his army from Ukraine, noted Sikorsky. He emphasized that the immediate withdrawal of Russian troops from Ukraine would lead to peace without the necessity for negotiations. Also, it's interesting because, the Pope and all of these other people, they never appeal to Russia to get the fuck out of Ukraine. They only always tell Ukraine to get the courage to sit down at the negotiations table. Why do they never tell Russia to get out? The head of the Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church responded to the Pope's remarks by affirming that in Ukraine, no one is contemplating surrender. I want to convey a message from the people of Ukraine. Ukraine may be wounded, but it is not conquered. Despite its fatigue, Ukraine remains steadfast and resilient. Trust me, surrender is not on anyone's mind. Even in regions where conflict persists, such as Kherson, Zaporizhia, Odessa, Kharkiv, and Sumy. Come to Ukraine and witness for yourself. Anyone who doubts Ukraine's victory should seek confession, as it reflects a lack of faith in the indomitable spirit of the Ukrainian people, stated his beatitude, Sviatoslav. Sorry, so canonical terms and like church terms, I called bishops and cardinals Pope minions the other day. So I don't know what his beatitude means or whether I'm pronouncing this correctly because, to put it mildly and to put it very realistically, I DGAF about church. Thank you, Magda, but it's not a movie. It's a film. It's if you want to call it something like that, and it's a documentary. It's a very bittersweet victory. But it's not a movie because it's a documentary. Beatitude. His beatitude. Okay, cool. Thank you. Clearly, I'm no churchgoer, and I do not understand any religious terminology that goes. So it's actually not a docudrama because a docudrama would mean that it's based. So docudramas are usually TV shows or movies based on real events. This is a documentary. It's not a docudrama. And the reason why this distinction is very important is because this is footage that was shot during the siege of Mariupol by a man and his team who stayed behind, willing to die to document it. Pope is clearly a Kremlin-loving peacenik. Well, he is Argentinian. And there are some very interesting feelings towards Russia and Argentina. Also, do not forget what Argentina did when the Nazi Germany collapsed and how many Nazis they did invite to come live and, organize their new lives. So yeah, it's probably something similar to His Holiness. Yeah. Beatitude. Listen, here's the thing, I think that everybody should at some point watch 20 Days in Mariupol, and also when you do watch it, you should remember that those were the first 20 days, so that was just the beginning, and what you see on the screen is horrific, but what you don't see on the screen is 1,000 times worse. But at the same time, I think that if you do understand what's happening in Ukraine, and if you have been following the events from the very beginning, then you don't have to do it. Like, you don't have to watch it immediately. I think it's if you're on the fence, you absolutely have to. But also, I do think that, like, it's difficult to watch, and it has to be difficult to watch, and that's the whole point, because we all have a choice whether to watch it. The people who were in it didn't have a choice. Oi, oi, oi. Trollolos started coming. Hello, my dear friends. I've missed you. You're so lovely. I was like, where have you been? Oh my God. It's been so long since I have seen trolls on my lives. I'm so happy they're back. Anyways, the Regional Military Administration reported that overnight, the occupiers launched an attack on the Donetsk region, killing 3 individuals. According to the report, a 66-year-old man was killed by artillery shelling in Chasiv Yar. Additionally, in Dobropilya, the bodies of 2 individuals were recovered from the rubble of a house following an attack by Shahed drones. Furthermore, the Russians targeted Mirnograd with S-300 fire, injuring 12 people in the process. So interestingly, Mirnograd is like a very Soviet name, but Mirnograd means peaceful city, which is very, very, very ironic, provided that it was targeted by S-300 missiles. Japan and the US are in talks regarding military cooperation to bolster aid to Ukraine, reports Bloomberg. The discussions include plans to increase ammunition supply to Kyiv and expand opportunities for repairing American warships and fighter jets in Japan. Both allies are aiming to finalize agreements ahead of the upcoming summit between Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida and US President Joe Biden in Washington, scheduled for April 10th. I really hope that Japan is going to be able to give Ukraine military aid, not just humanitarian aid. Japan has been stepping up, and honestly, like, we've talked about this a lot, but the fact that Japan is giving aid to Ukraine to begin with, even though Japan always stays aside, is a very, very big deal. The fact that Japan is remilitarizing is a huge deal, and I cannot believe that more people in the world are not talking about it, but both Germany and Japan are remilitarizing for the first time since World War II. Do you understand how huge of a deal this is? Also, since we talked about Twitter a little while ago, today I heard that I heard the most ridiculous, literally the most ridiculous propaganda on my Twitter ever. So I reposted the 20 Days in Mariupol won an Oscar, and I sort of like talked about how this is one of the most bittersweet moments in Ukrainian history, explained why. And here is a response from @PlanetAgonzo. So obviously, it kind of like alludes to Wargonzo, right? So the guy loves Wargonzo, watches Russian, bullshit, and is probably a Russian troll. But anyways, it's a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece of Russian imagination, so please prepare yourself. Mariupol was occupied in 2014 by Maidan militants and paramilitary working for Rinat Akhmetov, the oligarch of the Donbass and owner of Azovstal. Many Mariupol citizens were forced to flee to the neighboring Donetsk city. Their homes were occupied and stolen by the militants and their families. I know that because I met several people from Mariupol who were living in Donetsk, and they were telling this story. The movie that won the Oscar is just a grotesque propaganda sci-fi movie. Gonzo blogger. #. So, Mariupol was attempted to be occupied by Russia, and that's how Azov formed, and Azov and other brave volunteers, literally, had pushed Russia out of Mariupol and did not let that invasion happen, so Mariupol was not occupied with the rest of Donetsk Oblast. And the reason, I believe, the reason why Russia shelled Mariupol so incessantly was revenge for Mariupol not giving in 2014. Anyways, according to the Lithuanian Customs Department, approximately 50 cars with Russian license plates are still in circulation in Lithuania. Irmina Frolova-Milashene, a representative of the department, stated that this estimate includes vehicles actively participating in traffic, with a possibility of a few additional cars in parking lots. Any cars found to be in Lithuania unlawfully, particularly those traveling from the Kaliningrad region of the Russian Federation, would be considered a breach of international sanctions. Violators may face penalties, including confiscation of the vehicle and fines ranging from 200 to 6,000 euros. We view Ukraine, with its current experience, as a country capable of making a valuable contribution to the European defense industry, stated Vladis Dombrovskis, Executive Vice President of the European Commission. He elaborated, "Your country and your defense industry will play integral roles in the supply chains of the European Union. This year, EU member states plan to allocate 21 billion euro for security needs, reflecting a growing level of military support for Ukraine." Dombrovskis further mentioned ongoing efforts to deliver 1 million rounds of ammunition to Ukraine, acknowledging the need to expedite this process. He highlighted the Czech initiative aimed at mobilizing the search for artillery ammunition whenever possible, with plans to reach a production level of 1 million munitions per year and subsequently increasing to 1.5 million. Regarding the EU's inaugural defense industrial strategy unveiled on March 5th, Regarding the EU's inaugural defense industrial strategy unveiled on March 5th, Dombrovskis underscored its significance as a new venture for the EU, originally conceived as a peaceful project. However, he emphasized that Russian aggression poses a threat not only to Ukraine, but also necessitates the reinforcement of defense capabilities. The United States was reportedly formulating a non-nuclear response in anticipation of the potential use of nuclear weapons by the Russian Federation in Ukraine, according to the New York Times. The White House purportedly considered that any response to such a threat should not be non-nuclear in nature, though it emphasized the need for a dramatic response, possibly even including a conventional attack on units responsible for launching nuclear weapons. The New York Times also mentioned The New York Times also mentioned concerns within some circles that public warnings from Russia suggesting that Ukraine might be preparing to deploy a dirty bomb were merely a pretext for a preemptive nuclear strike. In mid-November 2022, CIA Director William Burns reportedly met with Sergei Naryshkin, head of Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service, during which Burns conveyed that there will be clear consequences for Russia. Naryshkin purportedly assured Burns that he understood the gravity of the situation and asserted that Putin had no intention of resorting to the use of nuclear weapons. As I said, the United States was reportedly formulating a non-nuclear response in anticipation of the potential use of nuclear weapons by the Russian Federation in Ukraine. Aw, sweet. But also, those would be tactical nukes. But as I said, this is first of all, this is reportedly. Second of all, Russia is always saying that, like Russia says that once a week. NATO countries are moving air defense systems closer to the border with Russia to strengthen Europe's defense capabilities in the Baltic region. Lithuanian Defense Minister Avridas Anusauskas hopes that the increased defense will last for a whole year, not a few months. Putin replaced the commander-in-chief of the Russian Navy, Russian media reported. Admiral Alexei Moiseyev replaced Admiral Nikolai Yevmenov. The change occurred against the backdrop of Ukraine's defeat of a wide range of Black Sea Fleet vessels. Aw, sad. Aw, Sad. The NASAMS air defense complex, purchased by Canada for Ukraine, cannot be transferred due to funding issues from the United States, Canadian Defense Minister Bill Blair announced. The $406 million order was placed over a year ago and has yet to be fulfilled. The Americans must provide funding to complete the contracts with manufacturer Kongsberg Defense and Aerospace, Blair stated. According to Canada's defense minister, acquiring NASAMS through the normal procurement process would take years without a joint agreement. We attempted to expedite the process. Unfortunately, the Americans encountered financing difficulties, Blair emphasized. So, the US not voting on the bill, which is literally Mike Johnson blocking the vote because he knows that it's going to pass in the House. That's why he's not putting it on the floor. Is not only causing problems for the financing from the US, it's also causing Ukraine problems financing from other countries, because a lot of other countries are buying weapons and procuring weapons jointly with the US. And that's a really big problem. 800,000 artillery shells purchased from third countries could potentially be delivered to Ukraine within a few weeks if there are no significant obstacles, stated Czech President Petr Pavel. He further remarked, thus, the Czech Republic accomplishes what the European Union has thus far failed to achieve. EU member states have only delivered a fraction of the promised million artillery shells, as reported by Bild. Details regarding which countries have already transferred or are planning to transfer these ammunition have not been disclosed. Previously, suggestions have been made regarding South Korea, Turkey, and South African countries. This is interesting because I do not listen to Russian media or even independent Russian media. I remember TV Rain that was suggesting that people should donate to Russian military because poor little guys. Hi, Peavy. Привіт. Okay. An investigation by the Medusa publication reveals that Russian authorities have implemented a comprehensive system of re-education for children abducted from Ukraine, aimed at instilling a Russian identity in them. These children are misled into believing that their parents are deceased and are labeled as potential terrorists. So these kids from Ukraine have been literally kidnapped. Some of their parents are alive. A lot of their parents are alive. And they have been told by Russia that their parents are deceased. And they were labeled as terrorists. The Ministry of Education of the Russian Federation is identified as the primary agency responsible for the indoctrination of deported Ukrainian children. A dictionary for teachers has been developed containing words and phrases deemed as extremist on a nationalist basis, which may be used by the deported children. Examples include glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes, racism, orcs, among others. The methodology employed by the Ministry of Education of the Russian Federation attributes the children's displacement to the ongoing war, describing it as a result of the complication of the geopolitical situation, which prompts families to undergo forced resettlement. It is Putin who has the power to immediately end the war and the suffering, not Ukraine, stated Marie-Agnes Strack-Zimmermann, head of the Bundestag Defense Committee. Before Ukrainian victims raise the white flag, the Pope must loudly and unmistakably call on the brutal Russian criminals to lower their pirate flag, a symbol of death and Satan. And why, in the name of God, does he not condemn the verbal incitement to murder by Kirill, the head of the Russian Orthodox Church and a former KGB agent, against the Ukrainian people? She added. So Kirill, the head of the Russian Orthodox Church, is a former KGB agent, and he literally incited Russian people to go murder Ukrainians. And she's very right. She's like, and why in the name of God does he not condemn the verbal incitement to murder by Kirill, the head of the Russian Orthodox Church and a former KGB agent, against the Ukrainian people? Yeah. The Pope is a moron. He's not a former, but by the way, Kirill is not a former KGB agent. Like, Russian Orthodox Church is literally used to spy and indoctrinate people. That's all I have for you for today. Oh, hi, Carrie. Oh, that's cool. Made in Texas Treasures. That's very cute. Okay. That is all I have for you for today. Kirill is a KGB thug. Yes, he is. The fundraiser is at $12,737.27. Maybe, just maybe, someone really wants to donate it is $62.73 to make it 12,800 tonight. Maybe someone really wants to do that, like, at the last minute, If you do, no pressure. I wouldn't blame you. I'd be very, very excited. So yeah. Yes. If anyone wants to do that, no pressure. No pressure. No pressure. At all. None. Not even like a smidgen of pressure. Not even like a smidgen. Do I have streams daily at the same time? Around the same time. Usually it's around like midnight to 1 a.m. Kyiv time. But I will try to be fixing my schedule a little bit. Дякую. Я сподіваюся, що це допомагає. But I will be trying to fix my schedule, and I will hopefully be doing streams at like 10, 11 p.m. Okay, Kat, no one asked for your opinion. No one asked for your opinion, okay, Kat? I'm trying. Whether I'm successful, that's a whole different story, but I'm trying, okay, to fix my schedule. Anyways, putting me on the spot like that. Kat is like a mod mom, okay? Kat has been like on my ass about like eating and going to bed since like the day I started streaming 2 years ago. This woman has been like up my ass. Oh, wait. Irina, thank you. There is a $25 donation, which brings us to $12,762.27. So to make it a nice even round 12,800, there would need to be a $37.63 donation. 37.63. 37.63, yes. 37.63. Also, we do have a Discord that I need to check because I haven't been there for a while. But we do have a Discord. It's very lively and buzzing. I do suggest you join it. It's in my link in bio on TikTok as well, and it's on YouTube over here in the Aussie just posted it. So if you're not part of it yet, what are you waiting for? And yes, Kat has been up my ass about my sleep schedule, about my wake up schedule, about my exercise schedule, about my forgetfulness, and about the fact that I do not eat at normal hours or on time, or sometimes I like lost probably like, I don't know, 15 kilograms in the beginning of the invasion just because I kept forgetting to eat because I had a full-time job and I was doing this all the time and I was just stressed. And some people stress eat and some people don't eat when they're stressed. I was not eating. And it was very visible on screen that I had lost like a lot of weight in a very short period of time. And Kat would literally call me and be like, "Have you eaten? Eat." And she would make me eat. But I mean, like, she would literally, like, she would request proof. Yeah, I'm grateful. I'm not like shitting on her here. But anyway, so Kat has carried on doing all of these things 2 years into the invasion and 2 years into me literally gaining more weight back than anyone needs to. And and if you exercise and walk outside some in the sunshine, that's a good deal. Oh, Ashley, 3773. Wait. Ashley, uh 3773, which brings us to $12,800 and 10 cents. Woohoo! Eating is good for you. I know. Oh my gosh, trust me, I do not have any issues with eating right now. Like, I'm in Ukraine and everything here is so good. Cucumbers have taste. Cucumbers have flavor. Cucumbers have flavor. Flavor, okay? Tomatoes have very good flavor. Like, the food is phenomenal. I have no problem eating here, okay? I eat. In fact, like, I need to like, you know, make a better eating in fact, I need to do like acquire better eating habits because at this point I'm just so like, oh, all these things I haven't had in ages, they're so good that I'm like I'm fat, you guys. Oh, also someone donated, Christina donated $30, which brings us to $12,830.10. Woo! Thank you. So, sorry, I'm like going crazy here. Yes. So, anyways, I need to resume my gym goings and I need to just kind of like, you know, space out my eating habits. And I'm never, you know, like it's interesting because I'm not a binge eater and I'm never like a person who is like genuinely gaining weight because I eat too much or like I'm lazy or anything like that. Like I've only gained weight because my thyroid would be acting up. And I usually like don't just eat everything I see in front of myself. I also eat small portions because I'm just like a small person and that's just all it is. And like I have been on a roll, you guys. Like on a roll. Like I've been eating everything and like it's not good because like I live here now. I have access to good food. It's fine. Like I don't need to gobble up everything I see in front of myself like my French bulldogs do because I'm not a French bulldog. And we're slowly coming to that. So don't worry. I eat. Oh, I eat. Okay. So like no worries here. I in fact am literally like this week I finally started sort of like, you know, um like trying to like, you know, not be a French bulldog. So I'm sure it's gonna be okay. Sleep, sure. Cat can be up my ass about sleep. I do have a terrible sleep schedule. Exercise as well. But I always lose weight when I'm in Germany. I guess it's the less processed food. No, like the first time I came to Ukraine, I like lost a ton of weight without trying to do that because food is just much better. But the thing is like I'm now used to the fact that food is good here. And now I'm not like, you know, like I'm not going to the gym. I have been working from home a lot and it's been cold as here, like so cold. And you know what? I'm not good with cold. Like I exist in the winter. Like I survive. I don't live, I survive in the winter. I hate the cold. So it's like, and I don't have a car. So like I haven't really been like outside much, and now it's finally like nice out, so I'm starting to walk a lot and stuff because I love walking. It's just like I didn't want to leave my apartment. It was so cold. Like I did not want to do that. So now I'm like starting to exercise again. I'm also starting to walk a lot, and I'm starting to not gobble everything in front of me. And so like if I'm like, not leaving my apartment, I'm not moving too much, and I'm gobbling everything in front of me because it's just too good, and my body is used to the fact that food is good now. So it's not like I'm going to keep losing weight because food is better. Like, nah, it doesn't work that way. Your body gets used to it. I am gaining weight. I am. And like it's absolutely my fault at this point. It's not thyroid, it's not anything. It's just the fact that I am literally like I have been existing indoors because it's been cold as shit, and I forgot how cold Ukrainian winters are. And I once its face, and I'm just like, I'm not like I am. This is no one's fault but moi. I've signed up for a gym. I've started walking, and I'm like, and I'm convincing myself that I do not need to buy these like chocolate covered farmer cheese things from the fridge anymore. Like in massive quantities, and I do not need to have them as a snack like every hour because it's not good for you. So yeah. Anyways, anyways, I've deserved it. Yes, I'm very happy that like I have access to all of these things. No, it's not chocolate covered cheese. It's like farmer's cheese. So it's like I don't have them in my fridge at the moment, oddly. But otherwise I would show it to you. But it's like they're kind of like they're dessert things. They're dessert things. They're tasty. They're tasty, okay? They're great. And I mean I'll show them to you next time if I don't manage to convince myself that I do not need to buy like 50 of them at a time and just stuff my fridge with them. But anyways, it is 3:17 a.m. and Ukraine pizza versus New York pizza, they're two different things. New York pizza is like fast food, right? But like pizza in Ukraine is Italian kind of pizza, and I do prefer pizza in Ukraine. I prefer pizza in Ukraine. Alrighty, you guys. I'm gonna go because it's 3:17 and it is about time I go to sleep. See, I want to be doing what they're doing. Camo dog number 1, camo dog number 2. Alrighty. Bye. Nighty night. Good night. Bye, guys. Oh, Ruby, thank you. Night. Wait. Herojem Slava. Herojem Slava, Floyd. Also, I like the word Floyd. Not the word. I like the name Floyd, but also Floyd Bed is a. Anyways, I'm so sorry. Night, Floyd. Herojem Slava. I like your name.